Ever wonder why some homeowners spend a fortune on plumbers while the house next door never seems to have a problem? I'll tell you, it's not luck. After 3 decades in the trade, I've learned that the biggest money savers in plumbing aren't complicated repairs. They're the small things nobody ever tells you about. Today, I'm walking you through 15 plumbing secrets that will save you thousands of dollars, including one at number 12 that could prevent the most expensive disaster your home will ever see. And stick around for the bonus tip at the end, because that one alone is worth the price of admission. The first secret, and one of the most important things you can do before you leave your house for any extended trip, is to turn off your main water valve before vacation. Now listen, most people lock the doors, set the thermostat, maybe put a light on a timer, and off they go. But they leave the water pressure on in every single pipe, every supply line, every connection in the house. And while you're sitting on a beach somewhere, a supply line under the bathroom sink quietly fails, and water runs for 5 days straight. I've seen it happen more times than I can count. The damage can run into the thousands before you even pull back into the driveway. Your main shutoff valve is usually near where the water line enters your house, often in the basement or crawl space. Before your next trip, go find it right now while you're thinking about it. Turn it, make sure it works. If it's a gate valve and it's stiff or corroded, that's a sign you need to replace it. A few seconds turning that valve could save you $5,000 in water damage and a ruined vacation. This one costs you nothing and protects everything. The second secret that most homeowners never think about is learning to read your water meter for hidden leaks. Here's the thing. You could have a leak right now, somewhere in your house or underground in your yard, and you'd never know it until the water bill shows up looking like a car payment. But your water meter will tell you for free. Here's what you do. Make sure nobody in the house is using any water. No dishwasher, no washing machine, no faucets, nothing. Then go look at your meter. Most meters have a small triangle or dial on the face, and if that little indicator is spinning when nothing's running, you've got water going somewhere it shouldn't. Write down the reading, wait 2 hours without using any water, and check again. If the number changed, you've got a leak. This simple check takes 5 minutes and can catch problems that would otherwise cost you hundreds in wasted water and a hefty plumber bill just for the diagnostic. The third secret, and one I wish every homeowner knew, is to replace your supply lines before they burst. Those flexible hoses that connect your faucets, toilets, and washing machine to the water supply are some of the most overlooked components in your entire house. The rubber ones with the braided stainless steel jacket look tough, but they have a lifespan. Most manufacturers rate them for about 5 to 8 years. After that, the rubber inside starts to degrade, and when one of these lets go, it lets go all the way. Full pressure, full volume, water everywhere. Replacing them is easy. You just need an adjustable wrench and a trip to the hardware store. A set of braided stainless steel supply lines costs about $8 to $15 each. I replace mine every 5 years, whether they look bad or not. For the cost of a pizza dinner, you're preventing a potential flood that could cost you thousands in drywall, flooring, and mold remediation. Between you and me, this is one of the cheapest insurance policies in your whole house. By the way, if you're finding this advice helpful, do me a small favor and hit that subscribe button down below. I put out new videos like this one every week, walking you through repairs that'll save you a small fortune in plumber bills. Subscribing is free, and it's the best way to make sure you don't miss the next one. All right, let's continue. The fourth secret is one the old-timers taught me early on, and that's to use thread sealant tape and pipe dope together. Most homeowners grab a roll of Teflon tape and wrap it around the threads a couple of times and call it good, and then a week later, there's a slow drip at the fitting. Here's what the pros do. You wrap your Teflon tape around the male threads, usually 4 to 6 wraps in the direction of the threads, so it doesn't unravel when you screw the fitting in. Then you brush a thin layer of pipe dope, which is also called pipe joint compound, right over the tape. The tape fills the gaps between the threads, and the dope lubricates everything, so the fitting tightens smoothly and seals completely. This combination is how we did it on every job I ever worked, from residential kitchens to industrial steam lines. A roll of tape and a can of dope together cost less than $10, and they'll last you dozens of connections. One less leak means one less service call, and those calls start at $150 minimum. The fifth secret that will add years to one of the most expensive appliances in your house is to flush your water heater tank annually. Sediment builds up at the bottom of every tank water heater, especially if you have hard water. That layer of calcium and mineral deposits sits between the burner and the water, which means your heater works harder, runs longer, and burns more gas or electricity to get the same result. Over time, it overheats the bottom of the tank and causes premature failure. Flushing is straightforward. You hook a garden hose to the drain valve at the bottom of the tank, run it outside or to a floor drain, and let it flow until the water runs clear. Some tanks haven't been flushed in years, and that first flush might look like muddy river water. That's all the stuff that's been cooking at the bottom of your tank. A new water heater installed runs $800 to $1,500 or more. 15 minutes of flushing once a year can push your tank's life from 8 years to 12 or beyond. That math speaks for itself. The sixth secret is one that saves time and money every single time you have a drain problem, and that's knowing where your cleanouts are. A cleanout is a capped access point in your drain line, usually a 3 or 4 inch white PVC cap or sometimes a brass or cast iron plug in older homes. They're designed to give you or a plumber direct access to the drain line for snaking or clearing clogs. Most homes have at least one or two, often in the basement, crawl space, or outside near the foundation. Here's why this matters. When you call a plumber for a clogged main line, the first thing they're going to look for is the cleanout. If they can't find it, they're going to spend time searching, and that time is on your dime. If you already know where yours are, you can point them right to it. Better yet, if you own a basic drain snake, you can often clear the clog yourself through the cleanout without paying anyone. Go find yours this weekend. If the cap is stuck or painted over, free it up now before you need it in an emergency. The seventh secret, and one I see people get wrong on almost every DIY job, is don't over-tighten fittings. I'll tell you, this one is responsible for more cracked porcelain, stripped threads, and surprise leaks than almost anything else. When you're tightening a compression fitting, a supply line, or a toilet bolt, your instinct is to crank it down as hard as you can, because tight means no leaks, right? Wrong. Over-tightening a compression fitting on a shutoff valve can crack the brass. Over-tightening the bolts on a toilet base can crack the porcelain, and a new toilet runs $200 to $400. Over-tightening a plastic fitting will strip the threads immediately. The rule of thumb in the trade is hand tight, plus a quarter turn with a wrench. That's it. If it leaks, give it another eighth of a turn. Patience saves parts, and parts cost money. Take your time on this one. The eighth secret, and one of the best upgrades you can make in your home for very little money, is to install quarter-turn shutoff valves. Most older homes have gate valves, or multi-turn globe valves, under every sink and toilet. These valves work by turning a handle multiple times to open or close. The problem is they seize up when they sit unused for years, and when you finally need to shut one off in an emergency, it won't budge or it breaks off in your hand. Quarter-turn ball valves open and close with a single 90-degree turn of the handle. They're reliable, they don't seize, and they work every single time. When a supply line bursts and water is spraying everywhere, those 3 seconds it takes to flip a quarter-turn valve versus wrestling with a stuck gate valve can mean the difference between a wet towel cleanup and a $5,000 insurance claim. You can replace these yourself with a wrench and some Teflon tape and pipe dope, which you already know how to use properly now. Each valve costs about $8 to $12. That's the best money you'll ever spend. The ninth secret is a tool investment that pays for itself on the very first use, and that's to buy a drain camera before calling a plumber. Now I'm not talking about the professional sewer cameras that cost thousands. I'm talking about the small endoscope cameras you can buy for $30 to $50 that connect to your phone. They have a flexible cable, usually about 15 to 17 feet long, with a tiny camera and LED lights on the end. You feed it into a drain, and you can see exactly what's going on in there. Is it a grease clog, a root intrusion, a collapsed pipe, or a toy your grandkid flushed? Knowing what you're dealing with before you call a plumber means you can describe the problem accurately, avoid unnecessary diagnostics, and make sure nobody is selling you a repair you don't actually need. I've seen diagnostic camera fees alone run $200 to $400. For the cost of one of those visits, you own the tool forever. The 10th secret is something most homeowners have never even heard of, and that's to use dielectric unions when connecting dissimilar metals. If you have a spot in your plumbing where copper pipe connects directly to galvanized steel, you've got a ticking time bomb. When two different metals touch each other in the presence of water, something called galvanic corrosion happens. The metals react to each other electrically, and the joint corrodes from the inside out. Eventually, it leaks, and by then, the damage can be extensive. A dielectric union is a special fitting that goes between the two metals and keeps them from making direct contact while still allowing water to flow. They cost a few dollars each at the hardware store. If you're in an older home, especially anything built before the 1970s, go take a look at where your pipes change from one metal to another. If there's no dielectric union there, adding one now could save you from a corrosion failure that costs $500 to $1,500 in emergency repairs and water damage. The 11th secret that almost nobody checks until something goes catastrophically wrong is to test your pressure-reducing valve annually. Your home's water pressure should sit between 40 and 60 pounds per square inch. Most municipal water supplies deliver pressure much higher than that, sometimes 80, 90, or even over 100 pounds per square inch. Your pressure-reducing valve, usually a bell-shaped brass device near where the main water line enters your house, is supposed to bring that pressure down to a safe range. But these valves wear out over time, and when they fail, your whole system is running at dangerously high pressure. High pressure destroys faucet cartridges, blows out supply lines, causes water hammer, and drastically shortens the life of your water heater. You can test your pressure with a simple hose bib gauge that costs about $10 at any hardware store. Screw it onto an outdoor spigot, turn on the water, and read the gauge. If you're over 60 pounds per square inch, your pressure-reducing valve probably needs adjustment or replacement. A new valve installed by a plumber runs about $200 to $400. Replacing the entire plumbing system, because high pressure destroyed it from the inside, runs a whole lot more than that. The 12th secret, and this is the one I promised you at the beginning, is to insulate pipes in unheated spaces. If you have water pipes running through your garage, crawl space, attic, or along exterior walls, and you live anywhere that gets below freezing, you are one cold snap away from a burst pipe. And a burst pipe in an unheated space can dump hundreds of gallons of water into your home before you even realize it's happening. I've seen frozen pipe disasters that cost homeowners $10,000 or more in repairs, remediation, and lost belongings. Foam pipe insulation costs about $1 per 6-foot section. You split it open, press it around the pipe, and you're done. For the most vulnerable spots, like pipes in crawl spaces or near rim joists, you can add heat tape underneath the insulation for an extra layer of protection. The total investment for an average home is usually under $50. $50 to prevent a $10,000 catastrophe. You'll thank me later. The 13th secret that separates prepared homeowners from everyone else is to keep a plumbing parts kit at home. When something breaks on a Saturday night, the hardware store is closed, and an emergency plumber charges double. But if you've got a small kit put together, you can handle most common emergencies yourself. Here's what I keep in mind: a bag of assorted rubber washers and O-rings, a universal flapper valve for toilets, a couple of compression fittings in 3/8 and 1/2 inch, Teflon tape and pipe dope, a few caps and plugs in common sizes to stop a leak temporarily, a spare set of supply lines. All of this fits in a small toolbox and costs maybe $40 to $60 total. When a faucet starts dripping at midnight or a toilet won't stop running, you open that kit and fix it right then and there, instead of paying someone $300 to come out on an emergency call. The 14th secret, and one that opens the door to dozens of repairs, is to learn to solder one single joint. I know soldering sounds intimidating. You're using a torch, there's an open flame, and it feels like something only professionals should do. But here's the thing: if you can learn to make one clean, soldered joint on copper pipe, you can repair almost any copper water line in your house. The basic process is this: clean the pipe and the fitting with emery cloth or a wire brush until they're shiny. Apply flux to both surfaces. Assemble the joint. Heat the fitting evenly with a propane torch until the flux starts to sizzle. Then touch your solder wire to the joint, not the flame, and let the heat draw the solder into the gap. When you see a bright silver ring all the way around the joint, you're done. Practice on a few scrap pieces of copper before you do it on a live line. The supplies cost about $20 to $30, and once you've got the skill, you'll never pay $800 for a plumber to fix a pinhole leak in a copper pipe again. My Uncle Ray had me practice soldering joints on scrap copper for a whole weekend before he ever let me touch a real line, and I'm grateful for every one of those practice joints. The 15th and final secret is one of the simplest habits you can adopt, and that's to never pour grease down any drain. I know this sounds basic, but I'll tell you, grease clogs are the #1 drain blockage I dealt with in 30 years of service work. Cooking grease, bacon fat, butter, coconut oil, it all goes down liquid and hot, and it all solidifies somewhere in your drain line. Over time, it builds up layer after layer until nothing gets through. A professional drain cleaning runs $200 to $500 depending on how bad the clog is and how deep it sits. If grease gets into your main sewer line and solidifies with other debris, you're looking at a possible excavation and line replacement that can run into the thousands. The fix is free. Pour your grease into a can or jar, let it cool, and throw it in the trash. Wipe your greasy pans with a paper towel before washing them. That's it. A 30-second habit that saves you hundreds or thousands over the life of your home. All right, now for the bonus tip I've been holding on to. And this one is for anyone who's ever been quoted a number by a plumber and thought, that can't be right. Here's what most people don't know. Plumbing estimates often include a markup on parts of 50 to 200% or more. That's not dishonest. That's just how the business works. But here's the secret. You are allowed to supply your own parts. If a plumber quotes you for a new faucet installation, and the faucet is listed at $350 on the estimate, go look up that exact model online or at your local hardware store. You'll often find it for $150 to $200. Many plumbers will agree to an install-only rate if you supply the fixture yourself. Just ask. Not all of them will do it, but plenty will, especially independent guys. The key is to buy exactly the right part before the plumber arrives, so there's no wasted trip or delay. This one habit can save you $100 or more on every single job that involves a new fixture. That's how my Uncle Ray taught me, and that's how I'm teaching you. Before you go, if you got something out of this video, do me one last favor and hit that subscribe button. I put out new videos every week covering real-world plumbing repairs, money-saving tips, and the kind of know-how that takes years to pick up on the job. Subscribing costs you nothing, and it makes sure these videos show up in your feed when you need them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.